This meeting has been duly called and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6:09 p.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. I ask that you please turn off the sound on all electronic devices. Since this is a small group, we'll just jump into business. The first item on the agenda this evening is public comment on agenda items. Citizens may make comments about topics related to relevant to district business. Topics should be limited to 3 minutes. Comments concerning specific student or personnel matters will be held in closed session. Do we have any public comment this evening? None. Okay. The second item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have no items for consideration this evening on the consent agenda. So we will move into the next item, the Team of 8 Continuing Education Training, Refinement, and Development of Board Goals. And Mrs. Carabine will begin with introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. It's our pleasure to meet tonight. Thank you for your attendance. This is, cumbersome tonight. Tonight's meeting will satisfy the required training for Board of Trustees, and it is my pleasure to introduce and welcome our good friends and representatives from our Region 6 Service Center. Mr. David Manley, welcome, and Mr. Jay Smith, welcome. And I don't know if the purpose of our Region 6 Service Center, maybe we can go around the room just very quickly, say your name and your position so it'll all make sense as we start to present tonight with Region 6. So, Dr. Ibarra?
Norma Friddle, Business Services.
Ginger Carabine, Superintendent.
Joel Bryan, Board Member.
Alicia Benford, Board Vice President.
Ricky Waller, Board Secretary.
David Smith, Board Member. David Stafford, Board Member.
Judy Harlow, Board Member.
Sam Howard, Board Member. Jason, Region 6. David Miller, Region 6.
All right, thank you to everyone. We look forward to tonight. We have a lot of information to share. Thank you to Dr. Ibarra and her team for preparing everything. This is much like what we do each year. It's, again, the required training for Team of 8, board goal development and refinement. But as we've mentioned on numerous occasions when Dr. Ibarra appeared in the boardroom, setting the tone for Texas strategic leadership. We are so grateful for this opportunity, and we'll hear more about that selection process. But we look forward to the training tonight, and we welcome feedback and participation. This is for the board to weigh in. These are your board goals, so I think it'll be a great night. Dr. Ibarra? Oh, your message.
For the board committees this evening, it's a pretty simple process. This is just so each board member can identify the committees for the upcoming year that they're interested in. And please, I encourage you to put your name by 3 to 4 of the opportunities on the list, and also rank them in priority, 1 being the highest, and then down the line. And we'll collect those at the end of this evening and get back with you with assignments. Thank you.
So just to get us started, we want to talk about the framework for school board development. The framework kind of gives the outline of what the responsibilities for the board are. And there's a couple that we're going to cover tonight in the session. And those are the ones that are highlighted there in yellow. Mainly, one of the board's responsibilities is to adopt goals for the district. So you adopt specific measurable goals, and then throughout the year, you're going to progress measure towards those goals. And your other responsibility that we'll discuss tonight is the evaluation of the superintendent. But to start the meeting, one of the first things we're going to do is talk about synergy and teamwork with Dr. Merrill.
If you'll look in your
last year where we learned a little bit about everyone, including Mr. Stasny, which was a fun night. Remember last year it was wonderful. So this one's a little more contained, I think, for sure. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes to fill this out. And then what we'll do is I'll give you a rubric. I think on the back it's got a way to tally whether you're A, B, C, or D. Okay, so if you will, in your folder, so on the back of the black folder. Make sure everybody's got it. I have a copy here if you don't. Everybody has? All right. If you'll go ahead and start answering it, and we'll gather back around here shortly. Add them up, yes. Go in and tally them up for A, B, C, and D. Yes, exactly. When you're done on the back, there's a place for you to tally. And Barbara's bringing around something we'll look at here in a minute, but go ahead and fill it out. I don't even, keep your eyes on the paper, please. It's ridiculous. Ruthie, cover your sheet, please. I know.
Joe, I'm not turning that paper over. He said, don't turn it over.
All right, I think most people are either done or finishing up. If you would, just turn to your table, like your table partner, and share your results and see if they agree, just out of curiosity, if you're A, B, C, or D, and then we'll get into what they are. Yeah. So, yeah, let me tell you what they are. I apologize. Yeah. A is analytical. Will you go to the next slide? A is analytical. Who's got the remote? The other remote. A is analytical, B is people-centered, C is structured, and D is action-oriented. It's on the board. Do you agree?
Well, I don't really favor one specific.
Are you down the middle? Yeah. How many of them?
A, B, and C are equal.
A, B, and C are equal. I don't, yeah. They got. I'm not that kind of doctor, Joel.
Versatile, flexible, adaptable.
Yeah, we're just
All right. Who is predominantly A? Raise your hand.
Where are
All right,
A
look
friends?
around the room. Predominantly A, analytical.
All right, I can see that.
I can see definitely Miss Friddle. Okay. Spreadsheet queen. All right, who is B, people-centered? Let's see that. But that's because Felicia cheated off of Ruthie. That's what's going to happen when you cheat, Felicia. All right, C, structured. Who's C, structured? All right. Who is D, action-oriented? Okay. Who's Joel, you're a combination of?
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C. Are there no D?
Joel's a unicorn.
He's a unicorn. Anyone else like evenly distributed? What are you? A and D. Yeah, I mean, considering what you do for a living, that makes sense.
You get 3.
A and C? A and C. Yeah. You were C, right? Heavily C? Okay. Clearly, the last couple of years, we've done all the personality studies, right? We did the north, south, east, west. We did the colors. And this one's about communication, and clearly learning to communicate is highly important. And it's obviously integral to not only the jobs we do, but the jobs that you've signed up for as well. And so we wanted to take just a minute to get to know each other a little bit better in the way that we communicate with each other. And so in doing so, we've got new IDs. And I think Jennifer's bringing around your, like Joel here has A, B, and C. So I don't know. Stennis with a D, that makes sense. That was his grade in school. So he definitely was not an A. Dr. Harlan Wolf, that's D, but we won't make that joke for you. And then we're also going to stick them underneath. So there's some strengths. So here we go. With analytical, so if you're an A, here are your strengths. You identify trends and inconsistencies. You ask clarifying questions others may miss. You ensure decisions align with data and outcomes. Potential challenges. You may appear detached or overly critical. You can feel slowed down by emotional or anecdotal input. The best ways to work with you are provide clear data ahead of time, explain the why behind recommendations, and allow time for analysis before major decisions. That's A. B is people-centered. Strengths there are build trust and foster unity, excellent listener who evaluates multiple voices, keeps the board focused on human impact, potential challenges, may avoid conflict to maintain harmony, could feel overwhelmed when decisions negatively affect stakeholders. And the best ways to work with you, provide opportunities for discussion, include stakeholder perspectives and presentations, and acknowledge emotional impacts of decisions. So that's B. And then for Joel, you're just confused. Here we go. C, just kidding. Structured processes. Strengths, keeps meeting and work streams on track. Values, consistency, and long-term planning, ensures compliance with policies and procedures. May resist sudden changes. That's Tommy. Can become frustrated by ambiguity and lack of structure. True? Yes, true. Okay. Provide clear agendas and timelines, clarify expectations and roles, give advance notice when changes occur. D, action-oriented is a decisive driver. Strengths are moves projects and conversations forward, comfortable making decisions quickly, encourages innovations and problem solving. The potential challenges are may overlook details for the sake of speed, can appear impatient or abrupt. Best ways to work with you: be direct and concise, focus on solutions and impact, keep discussions moving forward towards next steps. Any thoughts about this or anything that you gleaned that you thought you would want to share with everyone?
It shows what a variety we are. We're not all analysts,
Yeah, it really does. That's very true. Any surprises? No, I don't feel like either in looking at them.
I didn't realize I had so many strengths.
Neither did we. No, just kidding. Okay, thank you all for filling this out. We appreciate it so much, and I think we're heading over to Barbara for next.
Okay, so as Mr. Smith mentioned earlier, this evening is about revisiting the board goals and really the direction the board has for the district. I'm going to walk you back in time just a little bit. So last year when the board was in this room for Team of 8 training, we did a very similar process. And we followed that same pattern with the governance and oversight of the board goals and reporting to the Board of Trustees. So if you look up on the screen, the far left, January of 2025, we completed, oh, that should say 2025. Well, that's unfortunate. That's where we finished last year's. Barbara has a typo. She did this too quickly. Last year, we completed the superintendent summative evaluation, but at Team of 8 training last November, you developed the board goals, and then outside of that moment, we looked at key performance indicators that would show you evidence of progress towards those goals. And that's what we report to the board on when we do the summative and the formative. The formative takes place in June, which is the mid-year evaluation of the board goals and the superintendent. And then in January each year, because that's when all of the data is in, we bring you all of the summative data. Now, you guys have already seen, for example, the accountability data that came out for the past several years after the court injunctions. You've also seen the data from the most recent school ratings, from the most recent finance reviews, all of that data. In January, you see it all together in one moment together for a comprehensive look at how the district is performing in terms of progress towards board goals. That brings us to that purple line where we are today. We're going to be working on the development of board goals tonight, and then probably through January a little bit with those key performance indicators. When we come in January, you'll do the superintendent evaluation based on last year's board goals. And then we'll move forward with the whole new cycle. The cycle runs from January to December annually. So that's just a recap of where you've been and where you're going. And again, Team of 8 is the anchor that brings those goals forward each year, okay? And for that, I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Carabine.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. So on this next slide, again, this is just a reminder, every single school district has board-driven comprehensive goals. And like every other district in the state of Texas right now, our board goals are overarching. In particular, we have 5 goals. These are currently in place. Board goal number 1 is dedicated to student achievement. This is our core business, all things academics, teaching, and learning. Our second board goal is culture, climate. Think about everything that's happening on campus with students, behavior, et cetera. Board goal 3 is a workforce goal. It's critically important to hire and retain and train and develop top talent. Our board goal 4 is about community engagement. We're very proud. This came about a couple of years ago from the board in a meeting just like this, realizing the importance of family and community engagement. So I think we definitely hit a home run there. And then board goal 5 is dedicated to school safety and security. Again, these are already in place. They exist as presented and written on the screen. So tonight we're going to talk about these goals. There's an opportunity for refinement or development. We could start over if you wanted with one or another. We're going to share in a few slides later that we're going to propose a board goal number 6 that I think you'll maybe want to agree with finance and operations, et cetera. So again, just setting the tone for the purpose of the work at hand is to make sure we have tight alignment. And because we've been afforded the good opportunity to be involved with Texas strategic leadership, we all know that more than ever, we need to embrace best practices. And I met with principals today, and I told them our goal is to figure out how to work smarter, not harder, and to plan the work so we can work the plan. So that's where we're at. We're excited, and I will pass the torch now to David Manley.
Am I good? Now I'm good. Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, Mrs. Carabine, thanks so much. My name's David Manley, Texas Strategic Leadership Lead Coach for Region 6 out of Huntsville, and we are pleased to be here today, Jay and I, and have been so excited about having the opportunity to work with Bryan ISD. So just want to tell you a little bit about what TSL is. It is a TEA initiative that provides a framework and support for selected districts to create an academic strategic plan to move student outcomes by creating a student experience that's aligned and supported by the effective district framework best practices that Ms. Carabine spoke about. So that's what TSL is in a nutshell. And I want to make sure that I said the word selected districts. I want to make sure that you heard that because Bryan ISD was recruited to be a part of this program. It is not for everyone. It is not for districts that are in trouble. It is for model districts so that this process can be used by the district to be a model for other districts around the state. How were you recruited? Well, it starts first and foremost with your superintendent and the skill set and talent of your superintendent. And I think this is what they said about Walter Payton one time, who was a Hall of Fame running back for the Chicago Bears. He might not have been in a class by himself, but it didn't take long to call the roll. And I would say that about Mrs. Carabine as a superintendent. So the first thing when recruiting is we identified what we think is the all-star of Region 6 superintendents, and that's Mrs. Carabine. Again, maybe not in a class by yourself, but it certainly doesn't take long to call the roll. So that's the starting point, is great leadership and a strategic thinker. Her background with curriculum and instruction, just well-rounded, total talent is how I would describe her. But also, what is that relationship that particular superintendent has with their current board or has had with their board over the years? And of course, Bryan ISD stands out in that regard as well. So the board is to be applauded as well. Truly, from the outside looking in, it has been a team of 8 and a board that's strong in governance, and so that was critical. Also, part of the process is once you're recruited and sold, given the sales pitch to participate, you get the honor of interviewing with TEA and getting approved. And of course, Mrs. Carabine did that and did a wonderful job. And of course, TEA accepted Bryan ISD as part of that process. So I will tell you that it is very exclusive. There are over 1,200 districts in the state of Texas, and roughly 3% of those districts are currently participating in TSL work. Texas is broken into 20 education service center regions, and Bryan ISD is part of the ESC Region 6. So you are the district that represents this region across the state. There are roughly 40 districts of the 1,200 currently participating in TSL. So I will turn it over to Mr. Jay Smith to walk you through the framework and get started in the process.
So it's a year-long process to write the academic strategic plan. And that's kind of what's displayed on the board right here. You see there's lots of things that have been checked off, but there's lots of things that are still to come throughout the year. It's split into 4 different sections. And the very first section is where we see the current state of the district. And to do that, we do a process called the landscape analysis. Landscape analysis is kind of like a deep dive into the district. We talk a little bit more about it later on, so I'll just say it's a deep dive that we started in July, and we finally finished mid-October. So it takes a long time. During that process, we walk classrooms. There's lots of things that happened. Throughout the process, you'll also see that the board is involved in different things. Tonight is the board report on landscape analysis, which is in that second column, which is where, as a team, we work to define the envisioned student experience and goals. And that takes, again, it takes a couple months, but there's lots of people that are involved in that process. Some of the big things that happen throughout the rest of the year is where we align systems for implementation. And during that, we'll create a thing called a strategy on a page, and that's also on a future slide that you'll see what that looks like. You also do a dive into root cause analysis of some problem statements and things that we want to prioritize in the district. And that's a process that's coming up in this coming month. By the end of this, there is a 5-year academic strategic plan, and that academic strategic plan is based on the things that come out of the landscape analysis. And some of the things that you guys will talk about tonight are strategic priorities, which is again the base for the academic strategic plan. David said that one of the things that has to be in place is a strong board. During this process, we have this impact model that we see that it starts with a strong, effective governance from the school board. If that's in place, then the next thing that you work on are aligned district systems. If there's aligned district systems, then you're able to have aligned campus systems, and it works its way towards the top. And it's that envisioned student experience is the next step. And then ultimately our student outcome goals. It has to have every step along the way to have a strong student experience and a strong student outcome. Our student outcome is that thing that happens at the very end. In most cases, it's STAR. Sometimes it's SAT, ACT. It's whatever that one thing that happens for students at the end of the academic year. Another way to look at that impact model is through the different levers. We're going to talk about the effective district framework. I keep saying we're going to talk about something soon. There's lots of slides in this today, and there's lots of interactivity. So we're going to talk about the effective district framework and each individual lever. But this visual is saying that if we are working towards that student outcome goals, a strong vision for our district, and we have values in place for our district, that doesn't just happen. There has to be things along the way that have to all work together and align. And in TSL, we see that as 3 different cogs. You have foundational elements, critical enabling systems, and the student experience elements. We visualize them as cogs because we know that if you move one, something else along the way has to change or move with it so that we're able to then reach that envisioned student experience all the way to the right. Another way to think about that is if you change one thing, all the dominoes have to fall with it. So in this visual, we're saying if we want to change one thing that's in our academic experience, and that is, could be adopting new curriculum, well, what else has to happen? We're going to affect instructional capacity building, because we're going to have to train teachers on that new curriculum. It's going to affect finance and operations, because we're going to have to buy new curriculum. We may have to change the calendar to accommodate that new curriculum. Staffing, you may have to hire or move people around so that you're able to implement that new curriculum. And then the last one, performance management and planning, that's where you have to know if it's actually working. It's where if the implementation is going right, then what are the outcomes and what are we seeing from those? So that one change affects lots of places, and that's those cogs all moving together.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So for this next section, what we'd like to do is spend a little bit of time taking a peek at the effective district framework. So in your folders, on the left-hand side, there is a pamphlet or booklet and a little handout. So basically there's a cheat sheet, which is a 2-page document, and then you have this other little booklet here. If you'll take these 2 items out, and we're going to use them side by side because the book is extensive and really helpful, but sometimes you just need the quick reference sheet next to you as well. So quick reference on one side, book on the other, so you can see both together. And if you'll open your books to page 4, please. Page 4. We're going to start with lever 1, planning and performance management. For each of these levers, we're going to invite various cabinet members to come up and explain how their work plays into that lever. And I think Mrs. Carabine mentioned it earlier today, we could probably argue that all of us impact every lever that's up there on any given day in some way, shape, or form. But we're going to highlight just a few of them for you this evening, okay? So this first one we're going to start off with is, again, performance lever 1, and it's planning and performance management. And I'm going to kick it off to Mrs. Carabine to give a small sample and window into how that looks from the superintendent's lens.
Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. Yes, I could argue that every single person in this room right now plays a role with lever number 1, starting with the Board of Trustees. If you look at 1.1, the vision, mission, guiding principles, all of that, that's occurred over time, thankfully, because we've had a strong board and all of that's in place. So we weren't at a ground zero having to develop that part of it. So from the lens of a superintendent, especially since on the personality test, I'm a D, action-oriented, I would say the ones that speak to me more than anything is 1.3, implementation, planning, project management. For my other D friends in here, let's get a plan, let's take action and get her done, right? And 1.4, performance management. You've got to manage and there's got to be oversight and you've got to be able to make the adjustment and keep things on track. So again, there's in the book, there's more detail. I'm using the quick reference sheet, but these speak to me, and I would imagine to every other superintendent right now.
Yes, ma'am. For me, looking at 1.2 strategic plan, and I think everyone remembers all of the presentations and the formality that went from strategic plan to bond steering, and bond steering, obviously bond election, and now we're entering back into the strategic planning model. And so that's partly why Barbara and we're doing this today. But in addition, on the maintenance and operations side, we're continuing that work along the way. So 1.2 is another great example of the way that we're doing those.
So 1.5, I'm very analytical, and 1.5 is kind of my happy space, is where we look at continuous improvement and the metrics that drive district-wide continuous improvement on any particular area. So capacity building, mindset and culture. We talk about the district improvement plan. We've got a stakeholder group of district employees, about 40 of them, that all work on that plan together and work as a team together. So that doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't happen where someone just creates a plan and puts it on a shelf, that it's a living document that we actually work through the entire school year. So that's just a little glimpse into lever 1. And so now we're going to kick it over to lever 2, which I believe is Mr. Roberts. And if you're a cabinet member, if you'll just come down and we'll just share the microphone if you're speaking to lever 2. I am speaking to lever 2 as well, so I'll do mine first while they're coming down. If this is on page 7 and 8 and also 9, but mine is 2.3.2, strategic compensation. You think about the teacher incentive allotment, that is a key example of strategic compensation. Bryan ISD has been able to bring in over $4 million in additional compensation for our teachers who get the greatest growth with our students, and is able to pay them out anywhere between $3,000 and $28,000 additionally each year because of that growth. And all of that is funded by TEA, separate and apart from the district's local budget. So 2.3.2 is certainly one that is alive and well in Bryan ISD.
Yeah, the second essential action there deals with recruitment and selection of our employees, and one of those key practices, talking about recruitment systems and the things that we do for recruitment, early hiring, and of course working with you guys and Mrs. Carabine and Mrs. Friddle in regards to competitive compensation. There's also another key practice in there about educator pipelines and partnerships that we are continuing to grow those things as well.
All right, and my key practice is more the educator professional growth and retention. So this is our staff appraisals, our walkthroughs, our feedback to our teachers, and looking at student growth. Also identifying mentors for our novice teachers and supporting currently employed aspiring teachers.
Lever 3. So lever 3 is going to be integrated student supports, and for that we're going to turn it over to Dr. Warren.
Sounds great, and I've been informed we're not on camera if we stand over here, so we're moving to the middle. All right, thank you. Yes, so lever 3 is integrated student support systems, which is really where our special programs teams live, and that would be our bilingual, our early childhood, and our special education teams. And what you see here in this lever, especially in 3.1, is a framework for comprehensive multi-tiered systems of support. And what is really important to know about special programs in this lever is not just making sure that our students are supported, but making sure that they get the right support for their needs. And as you go through each of the key practices that are within this essential practice, what you're going to see are some very detailed elements of what it looks like to have a strong framework. And what you're going to see is that Bryan ISD already has many of these things in place, but we could use this framework as a way to identify areas that we can continue to grow and strengthen.
All right, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the key practice 3.2, which is school-wide culture, behavior, and safety. And this is our campuses aligned to what we're doing in the district as far as classroom management. This would be where everything safe in civil schools, our champs, our discipline in the secondary classroom, our foundations teams through safe and civil schools. So anything that has to do with classroom management at all at the campus setting.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and switch over to lever 4, the academic experience. Ms. Montoya.
Okay, and lever 4 is a framework for rigorous multi-tiered academic experience. And I look at this one as supporting every student, establishing a strong multi-tiered instruction and supports. This would be our tier 1 instruction, our intervention, and our tutoring.
Yes, with level 4 academic experiences, when you look at our district as far as 60% of our secondary student athletes or participants in athletics, you look at academics and athletics and how it goes hand in hand. Athletics is often used as a motivational tool to enhance our student athletes when it comes to no pass, no play, and also just the overall academic experience a student gains when they participate in athletics. Athletics is a life-changing experience as far as helping our students prepare themselves for life and also for college and also for their career readiness from that standpoint.
The idea of an academic experience is unique for each student, and so having a robust course offering, as well as just different opportunities becomes really, I think, vital to the health of the community. And when you think about 4.3, those CCMPs, that's that college, career, and military readiness. We're always focused on that trying to fit every kid into one path or into one lane is really detrimental. They come to school for different reasons. We want to prepare them for the 21st century, no doubt, but at the same time, it may look different for each one. And so we want to make sure that we're really preparing them for what they're going to face and what they're interested in. And that not only, as Derek talked about, they come for those reasons, it bleeds over into the academic side, the 4 core. They may come for shop, they may come for whatever, but they're going to perform better in an English class or in a math class.
So supporting everything in lever 4 is also the selection of instructional materials. The board is really familiar with this because we bring in those materials to the board for consideration each time we go through an adoption process. We know a lot of that's changed recently, where the State Board of Education now reviews all of those materials as part of the instructional materials review process. And all of that comes through the system and the district, and the teachers are all on the committee and make a recommendation to move forward to the Board of Trustees for adoption, so that everything that we're selecting has been pre-approved by the State Board of Education under the new process. With that, let's move to lever 5. Lever 5 is, yes, ma'am.
So I see CCMP all through here.
They changed the letters, yes, ma'am.
What's the piece?
Preparedness.
I still say CCMR.
College, career, and military preparedness. Correct. They changed it to a P. Super helpful.
In TSL, we're working towards building systems, so you're preparing the system for those kids to be ready. So that's the differentiation there.
So you guys changed it, or the state changed it?
The state changed it.
Okay.
It's just in this one document, it's the P.
You've
But
seen-
same
you've seen
thing,
it
so-
and heard it first.
Yes.
It's the step before we're ready. So
You
it,
can tell it's important to us because we're kind of shocked about
Well-
it, so.
Preparing to ensure that our students are ready.
we
Yeah.
focused on it for years, and rightfully so.
I guess the nice thing about this is about, as Mr. Smith mentioned, this is the system we create to make sure our students are CCMR ready.
And I failed to make this point, this one was made before. In so many cases, it's the and. It's not just that you're in one lane.
Yep.
It's that you can actually do multiple lanes. So I think that that's really very important to think about, because our kids are coming out not only prepared for college, but they're also coming out with a certificate. So they're more than ready in multiple lanes or in all lanes if you really need that.
So lever 5 is instructional leadership and capacity building. I'll turn it over to Ms. Montoya.
All right, and this is establishing expectations and systems for instructional leadership and development. So this is where we would have our job-embedded coaching. So this would be our instructional coaches working with our teachers, with planning, looking at data, and then professional development to help all staff grow.
The one I like the most in lever 5 is 5.3, data-driven instruction, and making sure that we've got a plan for that. One of the things we've changed systemically throughout the entire district is how we clearly articulate the expectations for student growth and what that data should look like, not just on STAR, because that happens one time a year, but how do we watch that throughout the year? So the accountability and assessment team, as Dr. Chupp and Dr. Morris, actually look at each kid's data set along with the campus, and based on where they are, they set a goal for that student. All of that is collapsed together with the teacher, so now we know what that teacher's goal is. So it's specific to the students that are in the room. If I'm teaching an advanced academics course, the growth for my students is going to look differently than a student group that is not an advanced academics course. And so the goal is a stretch for both of us and not a low bar for one of us and a high bar for the other one. It's ensuring that all students grow regardless of where they are in the process. If you're high achieving, we want you to maintain and even push higher. And if you're struggling, we want to get you over that next hurdle so that you are prepared for the next grade level. So all of that transpires and is, again, very clearly articulated throughout the district. Last year was our first big year making that move. This year it is absolutely across the board in place. And really thrilled to see that down to the kid level. Kids know their goals, teachers know the kids' goals, the principals watch the teacher goal and the kid goal. So that's completely streamlined. The last one up there is finance and operations, so I'll turn that over to Dr. Merrill.
Absolutely. I'm going to go 6.1. And when you think about the dominoes or the levers, being a former high school principal, I can just remember obsessing over the master schedule board. Having a gigantic board in the office and just looking at all, I mean, Ruthie knows, looking at all of it, because I knew you had to get it right in the beginning, because if you didn't, you were going to regret it for an entire year. And so much of it, when you think about it, it's driving all of the decisions. What we talked about with CCMP or CCMR, that idea of can they get the classes that they need? Are they at the right time? Are we putting the entire student body, all of the teachers, in a place where we're effectively using the day? And then that's the same thing with the calendar, which y'all heard the other day. It's simply about everything. And so bringing the committee together that helped make that decision, and ultimately that adopts that, and putting our students again in the best possible place, as well as our staff.
You know, Barbara, what you were talking about, the specific data that we use now, I think in one of our meetings, we talked about say principals because a lot of times the teacher knows it, maybe the supervisor knows it, the principal doesn't necessarily have all that data right in front of them. But now with all this, the principals themselves can just pull it up and know specifically which kids we have to identify to meet those goals.
We absolutely do that.
To get them over the hump by the end of the year. And that's what we're talking about here, which is amazing.
And even for the high schools, Mrs. Wall, you're absolutely right. The high schools watch not only the academic performance data, but the college and career data, down to the kid level, making sure when we go, Mrs. Carabine has us going on campus walks on Mondays, and we visit schools and do campus support walks where there is a team of 15 or more, 20 people that walk all of the rooms and look over all of the data. When we look over the data, we're looking at those goals. Did each teacher group meet their goals in the last assessment? How are we doing towards CCMR if it's a high school? And making sure that this campus is on track to meet their goal and making progress towards it.
High school obviously is the most complicated in a lot of ways, just because of all the things that they monitor. What you talked about is not only star results, and then you've got credits, and then you've got CCMR. You have all those things factored into
Attendance.
Attendance. It's different at the other levels. It's equally as complex. Teaching a kid to read, that whole process is just baffling to me and a beautiful process to watch. So everyone's got their part, but it's leading ultimately to the end. So.
Thank you. So right along with all of that planning that goes on the academic side, just as important, all of this planning needs to be happening on the budget and finance side. The money should not be telling us where it's going. We should be telling the money where it's going, and that is called a budget. So it all starts with accurate revenue projections. PEIMS data is absolutely crucial when it comes to revenue projections. So we have to make sure that we are working with clean and good data so that we can have good revenue projections. Strategic budget allocation. So once we build that revenue framework, we get to work and we start building a budget. We know what our parameters are. We already know how much revenue we have. We know all of our student populations. We know how much that's actually going to bring in for us. So we have our revenue, we build our budget, and with that budget, along with that process, we have to make sure that we are compliant in all of our special programs. For example, on the state funding side, there's a lot of checks and balances that are happening. We have to make sure that we are meeting all of our spending requirements and checking all those boxes. So being compliant with our budgeting, accounting, and financial practices all leads to that financial first rating that we want to continue to have an A on, right? So everything needs to be crystal clear there with the integrity of our data needs to be clean. Those revenues, those budgets, we have to check all those boxes on those financial rating and our indicators. So, and the last is my personal favorite, active revenue and cost monitoring and analysis. We do not set a budget and then walk away from it and never look back. We have to, we need continuous monitoring on the revenue side. We need to be watching those milestones. We need to be watching ourselves on the budget side as well. So it doesn't just, we do not set a budget and walk away from it. We have to watch it throughout the process.
There's no doubt she's an A, for sure. Thankful for that.
I agree.
I could say the same thing for bond. Like, we're talking about obviously different pots of money, but the same thing, we could reiterate it time and time again. So I just wanted to point that out.
Well, and I thank Ms. Waller and Ms. Fertile for going right in and bringing up the data, because that is our responsibility, is to make sure that whatever we're utilizing, that we're bringing those pieces together, whether it's network, software, hardware, to ensure that it's running smoothly. We're able to access the data we need to access, no matter if you're the teacher, you're the principal, and you can do that in a smooth manner so that you're focusing more on what's going on in the classroom, the teaching and instruction, and that technology isn't having a roadblock to making sure that happens. So.
Hi. In site operations, although not instructional, it is vital to the experience of a student. For so many of our students, the bus driver or the cafeteria worker is the first interaction they have with our district every morning. So it's important that those buses run efficiently, that they show up to school, have a healthy, nutritious meal to start the day, that the campuses are clean and they're comfortable. So allocating resources to make sure that our facilities and operations plays a major role into our student experience.
And our finale.
Our grand finale, community affairs, communications, all things public relations. The community affairs department, when you think about it, we really overlap across all levels. And just to give you a few examples, when you think about level one, we're responsible for telling the story. We translate, or we try to translate our mission and our vision into what it really looks like to all of us. We try to make sure that we, as a district, as administration office, our schools, principals, understand that children are first, always, and what does that look like on social media? What does that look like on a billboard? We also try to understand different structures, processes, interact with all of the departments here. We get involved with every single department, multiple committees. We're a small department, but we are engaged because we want to make sure that we say that we translate our processes accurately to the public and to our community. Level two, when it comes to recruitment and retention, we are responsible for promoting the great things and the great people who work here, who make Bryan ISD. Level three, family engagement. We have been very intentional about providing multiple meaningful opportunities for family and community engagement on many levels, from pre-K through 12th grade and beyond. Level four, we are responsible for translating what rigorous academic experiences for all learners look like. We understand it first, and then we communicate it. When we get a student that gets accepted, like we learned yesterday, into Brown University, Ivy League school, on full scholarship from Bryan Collegiate High School, okay, we research it, we verify it, and then we tell you and get the reaction that I'm getting from some of your faces. That's amazing. Early acceptance, very rare for Brown University. We also, when you think about level five, we become involved in processes like this when it comes to instructional planning and support. We have a representative in almost, and there's only 4 of us, but we have a representative in almost every committee that takes place here in the district. And then finally, an example for level 6, when it comes to budget and finance, we have to understand it first and to the best of our knowledge and capacity, make sure that what Ms. Friddle and her department is saying is not only accurate, but clear to the public, to the community, to our staff, and to our students. So basically, we have one of the greatest jobs, I think, in the district, which is telling the story, elevate our students, elevate our staff, elevate our district.
So the effective district framework, this is, I don't know that we mentioned this earlier, but this was developed by TEA, but not by TEA. It was developed by superintendents providing input to TEA. And in fact, Dr. Whitbeck, when she was here, and all of us contributed to some of the wording in this document, because this is the work of the work. If you're on district staff, this is what we're responsible for, making sure we work as a team, making sure we work together, because there's so much overlap and crossover with all of these things. If we're not working together and these become silos, the gears don't work and the system doesn't move smoothly. So that's a part of just a quick window into the EDF for what we do. And this was a big part of the understanding and the framework of TSL. And I'm turning it over to Mr. Smith, because now we're going to switch gears to the landscape analysis.
So like Dr. Ibarra said, is that the effective district framework is the foundation for all the work that we do in TSL, but it's also not a checklist. It's not that we're going to start at that first lever and just work our way through every single one of them. Throughout this process, we did the landscape analysis. That landscape analysis then guides us to, well, what part of the effective district framework do we need to work on? So this is, you'll have a report in there on the right-hand side that is the landscape analysis.
Oh, there it is. It looks like this.
It's also blue, but it's on the right-hand side, the back of your folder.
Yeah, it says down at the bottom, landscape analysis.
And this is one of the first pages of it, and I just wanted to make sure and point out that the way that the landscape analysis works is there's 6 overarching questions we are trying to answer. Under each of those questions are some sub-questions, but they all follow, again, back to that picture that we had that had the moving cogs. All the colors match, so we try and keep it all together, that you're trying to answer, well, do we have everything in foundational elements working? If not, what's something that we need to do? But you'll see that some of the things that we did during this process is we did classroom walks, and during it we walked 186 classrooms. Most of those classrooms were math and reading classrooms. We walked every single campus during that time. We observed PLCs, and we were able to observe 8 PLCs. We asked the district to collect artifacts so that we could, again, identify that current state of the district. And there was 120 artifacts that were collected, and those ranged from data elements to full manuals on these are how we do things in Bryan ISD. We also asked to collect reading and math assignments from classrooms from kindergarten through 8th grade of math and reading, and then English 1, English 2, algebra, and geometry. So we collected 390 student assignments, and those were sent to a vendor that then looked at them and said, are these high quality assignments, and are we on the right track? There were surveys, and that was the surveys that there's a chance that you guys have already seen them because it's your normal survey process. We just asked that you moved it back a little bit so we could get access to it. But you can see how many students responded to the surveys. Of your total student population, there's a little over 6,000 students that responded to the survey. We also collected quantitative data, and that comes from a lot of different sources, but one of them is the TAPER report that's brought to you guys every year. Usually not too.
It's usually now, but it's not out yet.
Yeah, it's usually real soon. So it comes from the TAPER report, but it also, we asked for information about teachers and how many teachers you're getting from different sources. So it's lots of different data points and different surveys.
So we thought we would do is give an opportunity for the board to look at some of the data and to also look through some of the reflections. So the steering committee, which is comprised of about 40 district staff members and campus members, looked over all of this data over two-hour meetings. So it's a lot of data. We don't expect that this evening. What we wanted to do for you is give you a glimpse into some of the takeaways from that committee, including all of the district principals. All campus principals also participated. And what we did is we have a poster for each of those questions. You see those questions at the top. There are 6 of them. And then he mentioned there are sub-questions. But you're going to see a poster over there for different areas of the report. And on that poster, you're going to see what did the committee and the principals believe were strengths, areas of strength, and what were areas of growth and opportunity. So we're going to split into 2 teams, and we have cabinet members going to different stations. So if my cabinet members would go ahead and move to their stations, this is the station that has questions 1, HR, finance, all of that, and then academic questions 2 and 3 are over here. If you guys will go to your stations, and if you are a note taker, if you'll move your area over there. The cabinet members are going to be there to facilitate a discussion and walk you through the portions of the landscape analysis along with the key takeaways and also the reflections, and to get your feedback on what you think are the greatest opportunities for growth and the greatest areas of strength that you can see in the time that we look over it together. So we have split the board members into 2 teams as well, a team of 3 and a team of 4. And so Mr. Stennis, Mr. Pavlis, Dr. Harlan Wolf, and Ms. Benford, if you will please join station 1 over here with Dr. Merrill. And then Mr. Bryan, Mr. Stasny, and Ms. Waller, if you would please join station 2 over here with Ms. Montoya. The facilitators will walk you through the analysis. You will want to take your landscape analysis with you, the little report, so that you have the data in front of you. And I'm going to bring you printed sheets because I have your clipboards right over there. I'll be right back. Can you take that to Julie? Thank you. Thank need one. Well, there you go. You have more than you need. You only need 4. Mike? No. Okay, not to interrupt your conversation, but as you kind of look over the posters, if board members will please look at their clipboards and identify areas of strength and identify areas of growth. And then we're going to have a little bit of time where the two groups come together and share kind of some takeaways, maybe a couple high-level takeaways. So we'll do that in about 3 to 4 minutes, okay?
So help me understand. So teacher educator, so know that, right? Understanding environment, space strategies, they rename things.
Okay, everybody, if we could spend the last 60 seconds, if each group could spend the last 60 seconds and pick one or two things that are areas of strength and one or two things that are areas of growth. And then we're going to have the board members come together here in the center, okay? So about 60 seconds, we'll meet you in the center. Okay, if I could have everybody come to the center right here in the middle between the two groups. So cabinet members, trustees, if you can make your way over to this area. We'll spend a little time just having a brief dialogue. We don't have a lot of time. Like I told you, the committee went through multiple days going through all of this data and are still going through parts of it. So that's why the posters were here, to try to expedite what those takeaways were. But we want to give you an opportunity to dialogue with each other about some of the things that you saw in the data. So I'm going to be quiet, and if we can have one member from this side kind of just share what is an area of strength from the questions that you guys reviewed, an area of strength. Highly effective teacher retention, that was 89%, I believe. So of those teachers who were deemed highly effective, meaning they're TIA designated, 89% of them remained in Bryan ISD from last year to this year. Huge. Okay, how about this side? What was an area of strength for you guys?
Kind of the same thing. 96% of the students feel their teachers care.
Ah, that's a wonderful thing. That's a very good thing. Okay, do we want to do an area of growth? Where's an area that we can continue to grow? Either side.
More planning time is needed, and that's an age-old thing.
It is, but we can get creative, can't we?
But having them being able to verbalize that in several different ways, knowing that admin is listening to them and working it into all the other expectations is huge for a teacher. So I think that that's going to get fixed pretty.
And that's something Mrs. Caroline also covered yesterday in the teacher advisory committee, as well as the principal committee, I believe.
Yeah, I did it yesterday and again today, that very topic. And when you walk back into the chamber later, if you haven't had dinner, if you go back later for dessert, you'll notice that we plastered the walls with posters. We don't have time to cover it all tonight. But just to give you a glimpse in how we collect feedback, I call it feedback loop for checking with the superintendent, knowing full well we need to give them more time. But with our budget, we can't give them more time off during the day, hire more teachers, et cetera. So I've challenged the principals and the teachers to come up with creative solutions with creative scheduling, coverage, et cetera. So you can read the posters, actually see if you get some ideas, and the principals left this morning inspired to go back to find a way to give the gift of time. And you know, back when you were on the campus, covering classes, alternate day schedules, creative master scheduling, you can find a way, but you have to work at it a little bit. So I told the teachers, I said, hey, you come up with a plan, pitch it to your admin team, and then
It's part of the solution.
yeah, solution.
Other areas of growth.
The CCMRs. bought into, the kids are learning it. I mean, and, the Region 6 guys have seen it and observed it tangibly and, not tangibly, because that's taken a long time. But I think a lot of that has to do with the leadership that we have, which another thing is, to the teachers, the administrative feedback is appreciated. And I think that's because, one, you guys know what you're talking about. They believe in y'all. They know you were them once upon a time. And I'm not just spelling it up. I'm just saying y'all are part of their lives, and they feel comfortable coming to you for help. And that's humongous, because it hasn't always been like that.
I think that's the highest I've seen that one, that particular metric. So that they trust their administrator, and that's 800%. That's one of the highest we've seen over the years of doing that survey. And it was a different time of year, so maybe the early in the year they love them, and middle of the year. We'll see how it looks in the spring.
One of the things that we did notice is that only 1% of teachers advance who were being highly effective. So what that means is if they were on TAI, highly effective, they're not moving into the roles of instructional coaches, associate principals. They're staying put in the classroom, which is good, but it also means that we're going to suffer in the pipeline.
But TAI also is instructional coaches. They don't get that.
Yeah, that's why they're not moving.
Right,
They're staying.
in that point.
Whereas before, we had a lot of folks who wanted
Right. And then, you have to have thick skin to want to be an AP. And so there is kind of a reason for that. But going from this, in the classroom to an instructional coach used to be a big, big deal. But they learned they don't get those bumps.
They'll take a huge pay cut to do so.
Right.
We have 14 vacancies in instructional coaches right now. That has never happened. We might have one or two. This is the first. We have 14. We've never.
And I wouldn't try to tell you
Yeah, they're all
something.
They would need instructional coach if they could keep their TIA.
Right.
TEA doesn't allow that.
We've also hired several instructional coaches to be APs.
Yeah, because that's their pay raise because they missed out on the TIA game.
And then how does dual instructional coaching?
And that's where we're struggling.
It's tough.
The model would have to change. They would have to teach part of the day and be an IC part of the day in order to get to garner those TIA funds. Okay, the time is currently 7:45. Do you want to take a break or do you want to continue on? Do you want a 5-minute break to go grab something from the back and then come right back out? Kate, come back. Cake break? Okay, 5-minute cake break, please. Okay? I'm going to this is the other issue. 30 years.
I'll go look in a minute.
So I said, yes, we got to move up the bottom.
I'm going to go back to the back. You need anything?
No, I got my cake with me. Go get your plate and some coffee.
Really great news. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Smith from Region 6.
So we talked about how the very first thing we do is that seeing the current state, and that was all the work that we just did. Like Barbara said, it was several meetings with the steering committee. I'm pretty sure we talked for about 6 hours with those groups to get where we are right now. But it's only partially there. The next thing that we have to do is say, well, where do we want to be? And that's this envisioning the student, or envisioning the future state. And part of TSL's beliefs are that a strong student experience is the core driver of student outcomes. If you know exactly what you want in the classroom for those students every single day, and you provide it, then you're going to be able to have those strong student outcomes, which as someone asked earlier, they're the STAR test, the CCMR, the SAT, ACT. So as a board, you guys have already said, this is our vision, this is our mission. The district has created some guiding principles. TSL walks through a process to create envisioned student experiences. And these are, what do you want that student to have every single day? Every student, every day is how most of those statements start. And I think that that's the next thing that we're going to look at. Wait, there's another slide. We're back to this one. So again, we're still talking about how those cogs move everything. For the envisioned student experiences, we looked at lever 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's those two middle cogs there. And we asked the committees to put together statements based on those 4 levers. And that's talent, instruction, capacity building, and academic experience. Now I pass it on.
Okay. So what we did with the steering committee and also the teacher advisory committee, the district leadership team, back to the steering committee, back to the teacher advisory committee, and now to the board of trustees, is we've drafted these statements. So it's gone through lots of different renditions, but what the committee did is they started with considering these questions. They looked at the effective district framework, and they wrote statements formatted just like he said. Every day, each student should what? Should experience what in our school district? And so they are arranged, the walls over here, so I'm sorry about your cake. I know it's a cake break, but we're gonna have to walk for just a quick 4-minute activity. There's 2 sections. There are 3 statements on each side over there, so 6 total statements, and then we have about 7 over here. These are the revised renditions after probably 30, 40 different statements. And so what we'd like to hear from the Board of Trustees, and Julie and Mr. Roberts will be your note takers on any edits you would like to see, any additions you would like to see to these statements, because we'd like to get them pretty close to final after feedback from the Board of Trustees, because this is one of those big rocks that we want to accomplish as a part of the steering committee process. So you're going to be in your same groups. Cabinet members, if you were over here, you're going to go right over here to this wall. And if you were over here, you're going to go right over here to this wall. And again, you don't need any paper or pencil with you. Ms. Johnson and Mr. Roberts will handle all of the note taking. Board members, same groups. If you were over here, if you'll join your team over here for a quick 4 to 5 minute activity. And then same thing, if you were with Ms. Montoya, if you'll go over here. We'd like your feedback on these statements, and again, any edits that you may want to recommend based on what you're seeing in the district.
So the statements are the same on both?
They are different on both walls. One wall deals with levers 2 and 3, the other one 4 and 5.
True. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, 60 more seconds in this station, and then I'm hearing you guys want to see the other statements, so we'll do a quick run through on the other side of the room with the other statements, okay? So 60 seconds where you are, and then you'll get to see the other statements on the other side of the room. Okay, if I could have you go ahead and swap sides. Going for a field trip, yep. All right, when you get to your new group or your new station, if you'll read over the statements, and same process. Okay, about 60 more seconds in this station just to get feedback on these statements. They will be no way done tonight. This is to get your feedback so we can bring you back revised statements, okay? So about 60 more seconds. If your group is done, you can head back to your tables whenever you're ready. Okay, thank you for your time and feedback on those statements. We will look at everything and revise them and then bring them back to the board and to the committee as well. So thank you for your work on that and providing input on what those student experience statements should be and could be. Okay, so that was student experience statements, and we are moving into the home stretch of the actual outcome goals. And I think for this section, we're turning it back over to our friends at Region 6 with Mr. Smith. Yes, ma'am, of course.
Are these all the student experience statements, or are there more?
There are a whole bunch up in my office. These are the ones the committee boiled it down to at this point. But they have a lot of room to still continue to change and make sure everything's covered.
I mean, y'all tell me. So one of the things I hope for our students is that they feel connected to the adults, to the that there's at least one adult that they have a strong relationship with.
We'll add that in. I think that's been a priority of the board for quite a while now.
On the engagement side, every student every day is engaging in some type of special program, whether that be CTE, fine arts, athletics, or whatever.
Involvement in some way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ambassadors.
I think we also talked about volunteerism, all of those things.
Julie,
Yes, ma'am.
captured.
Thank you, Dr. Harlan Wolf.
So again, we're working through all of our check boxes that we showed you at the very beginning of this. And one of them that we've talked about a couple of times is student outcome goals. What are student outcomes, and then what goals do we have in place for them? For you guys, hit to the next one for me. Oh, you already did it. It's looking down. So early in the day, I said that we were going to have a look at the strategy on a page. Strategy on a page is pretty much the one-pager version of the academic strategic plan. And in this, it works very much like that impact model that I've showed way back at the beginning of this, that these things across the bottom that are labeled as initiatives, if we do these things well, those will move those aligned priorities. Those aligned priorities will move our student outcome goals, which is what we're talking about right now, which will then align to these envisioned student experience, the mission, the vision, and the guiding principles that you already have in place for Bryan ISD. But right now, the student outcome goals are mostly, in this case, those House Bill 3 goals, which are the early childhood reading, early childhood math, and CCMR. Those are the ones that we look at first, along with y'all's board goals. And I think that I hand this to
Got a mic over here, and this is just, if you turn or advance the slide, Dr. Ibarra. We're frozen in time. There we go. This is just a reminder, we saw this slide earlier. We have an existing set of 5 goals, and we're proud of them, and they're pretty similar to board goals across the state. But the goal tonight is to make sure that they're aligned to the effective district framework. So, Barbara, are we still going to break into 2 groups again? Oh, whole group. All right, my note says 2 groups. So, do they have this in their folder? Yes.
So the right-hand side of your folder at the back, you have a handout.
again, on the right-hand side of the folder at the back, you have a handout that's a one-pager that has the board goals as they stand today, plus an additional. But it's on the right-hand side in the back pocket. And it's a one-page document with the current board goals, with room for you to write and edit and provide feedback as a board.
All right, to remind all of our returning, poor Tim Pavlis is thinking, what in the world have I got myself into tonight? But for the returning board members, if you'll remember, each year, we look at the board goals and we decide, do we like it, love it, do we want to tweak it, refine it, throw it in the trash can, start over? So we're at that moment right now. But unlike previous years, we have all this new information. We have data to inform decisions. We understand now the best practices or the effective district framework. So do you want to start with board goal? This is our academic.
Yes.
And just take a minute to look at it and decide, love it, keep it, or refine it, or start over.
So for the first 5 goals, those are the ones you've seen previously that the board has drafted previously. So do you want to talk about those 5 first, ma'am, and then we can move on to goal 6 after that?
Yes.
Okay. So is there any change or any dialogue that you'd like to have about the wording of goals 1 through 5? We'll still go to committees to develop those key performance indicators. What are the measurements to show progress and attainment? But just the overarching wording of the goal. So I'll be still and let you guys read. Yes, ma'am, whenever you are.
It's funny how when you look at this a year later. So goal 3, I like the goal, I just think it's worded awkwardly.
Okay.
But I don't know how to fix it.
Is there a word in there that
Yeah.
you feel like is awkward?
And providing appropriate resources. So it says recruit and retain a high-quality workforce through competitive benefits, differentiated professional learning, and providing appropriate resources and support to ensure a positive work environment. That
that many clauses.
transition is
Yeah.
just weird to me.
Okay.
I think we know what it says, but there's probably a better way to say it.
Okay.
I wanted to add, and I think I maybe made this suggestion last year and we didn't do it, but goal 4 talks about actively partner with students, families, staff, and the community. Goal 5 doesn't mention family being welcome in the space, and it says visitors, which could include family, but I would like to explicitly say family.
We'll make it mirror the same phrasings. That we can absolutely do that.
Number 3 is that this is just, I guess, a simple suggestion, because you were just thinking it sounds kind of awkward the way it was worded. I think you could put a semicolon after learning and then take out the and I think that would probably do it pretty well. But
that's a great idea.
And with regard to where are we? Actively partner with students. Number 4, students, families, staff, and the community. Somehow I'd like to get in there, I don't know if you want to specifically name them, but post-secondary education, institutions, because the community, I don't know, doesn't jump out at me as saying we've got to have a great relationship with A&M and Blinn and anybody else we can have a relationship with that's higher ed, maybe the higher, whatever. But if y'all feel like you can just handle that in the sub, whatever we call those things, when we
KPIs, yes, sir.
itemize, yeah, I mean, that's fine as long as it's included in there, because that is absolutely critical. I know y'all are already doing it, but it needs to be, if we can, expand it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think it's under a key
It
performance
is. It's a
indicator.
KPI under that
We could
goal.
add it though, with students, families, staff, and the community, comma, including post-secondary institutions, comma, to promote collaborative stakeholder. That way it's spelled out in the goal part of it.
Got it.
I wrote down two words, comfortable and experience. The word comfortable to me just creates more of a, I hate to say warm and fuzzy, but almost.
At ease.
At ease, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost on goal number 2, fostering, sustain a comfortable culture of and climate.
Got it.
But also experience, the student experience, the faculty experience. I'm thinking of the dogs that we're putting into the campuses and what experience that creates. And so, same thing along on goal number 2, learning environment that encourages engagement in academic experience, or encourage engagement in academic extracurricular experience and service activities. So somewhere in there that we are.
Something about the experiences there. Okay.
Those are just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any adjustments to goal 1? Go ahead.
I really like that we're adding the financial responsibility at the end, and I'm sure that was probably something that Norma liked it, and wanted to. But that's very important, because we're taking major accountability with that, so I really like that. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing that. Yes, we took the liberty to make a recommendation. If you would jump to number 6, I'll let Norma explain her thoughts with that in light of the $397 million bond and complexities of school finance and deficit budgets. We thought it would be a great addition.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. With the budget process about to begin very soon, we just thought it would be a good opportunity to go through our series like we talked about. So that's part of the transparency that we're bringing to that process. We want to make sure that every step of the way the board is informed on each step and what it consists of, and the communication that we're having with our internal teams right now. We're piloting 4 campuses and 4 departments on the entire, the new budget model that we're rolling out. So it is very important to our community, to our staff, to make sure that they understand that this doesn't need to be this vague process. And we're taking every step seriously. We're keeping the transparency alive so that everybody feels they know exactly where they're at in the process.
Got it. Great catch. Yeah. Parallelism is important. Thank you. Any other feedback on that phrasing for goal 6?
I just put the financial stability and operational effectiveness will be at the forefront to strengthen the overall district outcome.
I got it.
Thank you. Just to remind everyone, especially
you.
Mr. Pavlis, who's new to all this, these are the overarching board goals. And then we as an admin team work all throughout the year, through multiple years actually, to achieve progress towards your goal, hopefully checking all the boxes. So outside of this meeting, in all of our committee meetings that you signed up tonight with Mr. Bryan, we will bring you what we call key performance indicators. So we'll develop those with you, and then it's our job to work towards the performance indicators using specific strategies, adjusting as we need to go, and then report out to you all throughout the year. Barbara spends a lot of time in the boardroom providing updates and reports, et cetera. So you can expect that to continue, as well as these other goals. But new and different, and we're really, really excited, is the series of financial reports. So Norma and Barbara are going to be arm wrestling to see who has the most time on the mic, which is a good problem to have, to know where we stand with student achievement and our finances 24/7. Barbara may win. I don't know.
I'm a winner. I just do. I have minutes. I've got minutes of on the mic. It's me.
Yeah. But just, I just
like
wanted
good
Mr. Pavlis to know it doesn't, start and end here. There will be a laundry list of KPIs that you'll see often and you'll know progress toward. If we're meeting it or not meeting it, or if we need to make an adjustment, because what we all know in our business, and this is applicable to everything, is you don't wait until the end of the game to make that adjustment. You have to monitor and adjust to achieve all throughout the year. And I love that you say that all the time with the budget.
That's actually a very good point with adding the internal and external communications, because it goes back to the transparency and removing just the ambiguity, the ambiguous feeling, that we get who budgets for what, where do things go. So I really like that internal and external.
Maybe through transparency with the school community.
District outcomes while communicating with internal and external stakeholders. And this is that.
While communicating transparently with internal and external.
There you go.
The communication piece is very important internally and externally.
Okay, any other feedback on 6 goals? Are there any other goals you would like to see added beyond the 6 that are here?
So the teachers are admin, they didn't do a 6, right? We didn't look at a 6.
Finance and operations is over that, on that wall.
Okay, I'm talking about the goals that we just.
Oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. It was just goals 2, 3, 4, and 5, because they're student experience statements.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
But, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
changing thing. I'm just saying, though, to teachers and admit to everybody, they'll like knowing and hearing more about where the money's going to and how it's being distributed.
And prioritize to achieve those outcomes for students, absolutely.
Right, so the transparency and the open line of communication, just like how much we pounded the pavement about their insurance and how they needed to look into it and really be decisive about what they wanted. Well, that's money. That's budget. So those type things mean a lot more if a teacher feels like they understand what's going on.
Okay, I think at this point, if the board is agreeable, we will revise these and bring them back for your feedback and possible adoption either at the night meeting in December or possibly early in January for your consideration of the goals. And then all along the while, like Mrs. Carabine mentioned, we'll work through the committees to develop those key performance indicators that will show you progress towards the achievement of the goal all throughout the year, not just at the end of the year. So with that, knowing that those key performance indicators and everything you just saw with the effective district framework, there are a lot of metrics, a lot of indicators, and a lot of things to monitor. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith briefly, just to kind of help us prioritize the work as a part of TSL. This is one of the things they try to teach us, to keep the focus the focus.
So on here, we see that there's the urgent and that whirlwind. One of the books that we reread during this process is Four Disciplines of Execution, and it talks about the whirlwind, and that's everything around you that pulls you away from your priorities. It's everything that tries to suck up all of your time, and we have to acknowledge that it's there. We have to understand that it's there, and there are those things that are urgent. But whenever we're writing this plan, we have to also acknowledge that there's these things that are important, and we've got to make sure that we bring them to the top. So we have to understand that also the important is something that's not a quick fix. That's why we write a 5-year strategic plan. It's because it's going to take a while sometimes to solve or upgrade some of those things. But I'm going to hand this right back.
Okay, so with that and knowing all of the things you saw with the effective district framework this evening, we have a little handout for you, and if you have time, we'd like to get your feedback on all of the things that you've seen tonight and all the things you just know as board members, community members, parents. What are the top 3 priorities for you as a board member that would need to be addressed by our district and are most critical for our success? So from your lens, from your perspective, what are the big 3 rocks that we need to be highly and hyper-focused on to ensure the district's overall success? Mrs. Carabine, anything you would add to that?
No, that's perfect. The wildly important goal. We can't, everything can't be the 911. If you can narrow the focus, not that the others are not important, because we will stay the course and do all the work, but what, from your lens, is the most important?
So we'll give you a few minutes just to reflect, and then we can either discuss or we can give you more time and we can bring it back at another time, depending on how I know it's 8:30, we can talk about it as you go through. Okay. So, see, we're still working. I think probably what we'll do is we'll give you more time to work on those, and we'll collect them separately from you, and then we can have dialogue about them in a little bit for all of the board to kind of share some of their takeaways from what you think are the most important priorities for us as a district. But I wanted to give you a glimpse of the timeline ahead, and I want to give you a glimpse of the timeline ahead for TSL, and then I'm going to turn it back over in just a moment to Mrs. Carabine to kind of close out this section of the evening. So in terms of the Board of Trustees and the board goals overview, and looks like we're meeting in the middle again. Let's see if it can handle it. Go back. Okay, we are at that purple line. We're developing the board goals. We'll come back through committees and develop the key performance indicators. But this January, we will have the formative or the summative evaluation of the last year for the superintendent goals and the board goals. So that comes up in January, and then we'll adopt these new goals moving forward into the next year, which will run from January to December. We'll have the formative in June, and then the summative in next January, right about this time, okay? In terms of TSL, that work goes on for a little bit. Mr. Smith shared this earlier. We've already finished out everything towards the first 2 blocks. We're real close. We're moving now into the next 2 blocks. Anything you would add from earlier? Where it's strategy on a page, it's root cause analysis and all of those things, which will also be brought back to the Board of Trustees as they're in development. The student experience statements will come back to the board for consideration and review as well after we revise them. They've gone through a lot of different renditions, but it's time to streamline them and kind of pull them all together. Mr. Smith, Mr. Manley, anything else for this evening? Okay, Ms. Carabine, turn it over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. Just to reiterate, we're going to be operating in 2 worlds. We've got the current board goals that will finish us through January at the summative evaluation. And then right after that, we flip the script. We adopt all of this work from tonight, including our board goal number 6 with school finance, and we start moving forward. And then all throughout that process, depending on which committee you've assigned up for, you'll see the subject matter experts working on key performance indicators, hearing about strategies, hearing updates in the boardroom for progress towards board goals and the adjustments, et cetera. So we're excited to compile your information from tonight and to go to work. So we appreciate your time, and I'm going to turn it back to Board President Joel Bryan to see if he has any remarks or if you want to ask anyone to share any thoughts from what you've brainstormed on your paper.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you to you both for being here tonight, for the opportunity for our district to go through this process. It's exciting. I think as a board, it's exciting for us to shine a light into a lot of detail in our district, but also present it in a way that we can digest and understand and make sense and set goals and work through. So we're extremely excited to go through this process, but just wanted to say thank you for that. Does anyone have any of their comments that they wrote down that they would like to share in terms of their 3 priorities for I guess board goals for most critical for the district's success? Yes.
Since I wrote them pretty fast, I'm not sure how good they are. But anyway, number 1, providing a safe and secure learning environment with no fear of bullying or chronic behavior. That's a kind of a challenge. Number 2, tailoring education to the needs of every student, top to bottom. And these aren't exactly new and unheard of. Number 3, support and nourish all of our staff. And I put the word nourish in there intentionally because sometimes we talk about support and it's financial and so on, but we've got to find ways to nourish them. In other words, make them feel valuable in many ways that are possible outside of simply compensation.
Okay, I had number 1, student success, and not just one-day test or how the state defines CCMR. So, 2 is family engagement, so partners K through 12, keeping them engaged as families. And then last is financial stability. Enough money to pay our people, maintain buildings, and support student success.
Mine's short and sweet. That's just how I am. Number one, financial. 2, development of teachers and students, and family engagement.
I scribbled mine down, kind of sporadic, but number 1 is academic achievement and enhanced student experience. Number 2, I kind of got wordy with this one, but identify other areas of improvement that will enable the district to combat, overcome the recent decisions by the Texas legislature, vouchers, et cetera. How do we stay on top relative to our competition? How do we get offensive as opposed to defensive? How do we not get caught flat-footed into a reactionary position as opposed to being proactive?
So I said ongoing coordinated work by leadership to teachers, by leadership, talking about on the campus level, to teachers regarding consistent classroom management that will lead to better overall student behavior at schools as a whole, like lunchrooms, stairs, halls, etc. So ongoing leadership, examples to their teachers on the expectations of great classroom management to help the overall culture. Continued alignment, vertical planning that's obviously going on by teachers, and all, we'd like to think 100% of teachers would buy into it, but again, we're going to try our dead level best to give them more time to be able to accomplish that. The data is being used so much more than ever, yay. Better software we're looking into, and we're spending the money it takes to do that. And then I added one, continued positive publicity and marketing, because that is really working.
So I put for finance to be able to work with our campus leadership to understand how to manage the money that's assigned to them, to be able to spend it wisely on the things that they need so they don't run out. And then community engagement, from athletics to fine arts to all the students in the clubs, for those individuals to not only support them, but also find ways to get the parents involved. And just because it's baseball season, when it gets over, not to just not encourage the family participation, keep the families engaged all year round from the beginning to the ending, and whatever it is, band, football, whatever that might be. It's a year-round thing instead of a seasonal thing.
I got one here. My priorities, relatively brief. Academic success and preparedness of our students is top priority. Sustainability of our district for the future. I think that's a responsibility of ours to ensure that Bryan ISD continues to be successful. And trust in our ability to provide a safe and professional educational environment where our students thrive. So, I think that that kind of concludes our Team of 8 continuing education and training, refinement and development of board goals for this evening. The only additional comment I'd like to provide on that is please provide your committee selections before we exit so we can wrap that up and get everybody assigned and prepared for upcoming meetings. If I move on to agenda item number 6 for closed session, we do not have any topics for closed session this evening, so we can forego that agenda item. And with that, there being no further business, the meeting has adjourned at 8:41 p.m.
Barbara, you want these back, right?
Yes, if we
Okay.
could have